Lesson 20, Plural Articles. The main thing we want to communicate to you in this lesson is that if you want to put the word the in front of a plural noun, you can't use el and la because they are singular. You need to have a special plural form of el, which is los, and a special plural form of la, which is las, if you want to use them with plural nouns. So the main idea of this lesson is to learn about los and las. When you are studying grammar, there's a concept called agreement. Agreement is the idea that one word has to have the same characteristics as another word that accompanies it. And we see this demonstrated here in our first example, the example that says los muchachos. The word muchachos means young men, and the word los is the article. Since muchachos is plural, the article needs to be plural as well. If we had something that said el muchachos, that would be incorrect because muchachos would be plural, but the article el would be singular. And so those two words would not agree. So you see we have this concept of agreement. But when los is plural and muchachos is plural, then they agree with one another, and we have a correct Spanish statement. And likewise, the next example says las muchachas. Muchachas is plural, so we need to have a plural article with it, in this case, las. If we had la muchachas, that would be incorrect because muchachas would be plural and the article la would be singular. So those two words would not agree with one another. But when we have a plural article, las, and a plural noun, muchachas, then both words are plural and they agree with one another. Now, words not only have to agree in number, they also have to agree in gender. If I put a masculine article with a feminine noun, that would be incorrect as well. For instance, if I said los muchachas, well, los would be masculine, plural, and muchachas would be feminine, plural. So those two words would not agree with one another. They would disagree with one another in gender. So instead of los muchachas, which would be incorrect, we have las muchachas. So in this lesson, we're learning about agreement, that a noun and its article must agree with one another, both in number and in gender. So in our chart, we have 2 rows and 2 columns. Off to the left, you see masculine and feminine. And at the top, you see 2 columns, singular and plural. So el would be masculine and singular. La would be feminine and singular. Los would be masculine and plural. And las would be feminine and plural. Okay, let's take a look at these exercises here. In number 1, we have the masculine plural word, muchachos. So that will mean young men, and it's being introduced by the definite article los. And as we learned in this lesson, los is plural. Since muchachos is plural, los also has to be plural so that they agree with one another. So number 1 will say, the young men. In number 2, we see the feminine counterpart of los, which is las. The noun here, hermanas, which means sisters, is feminine and it's plural, so the article needs to be feminine and plural too, so that they will agree with one another. So number 2 will say, the sisters. In number 3, we have the masculine plural noun amigos, and it's being introduced by a masculine plural article, los. So los amigos will say, the friends. And since the word amigos is plural and masculine, it could be talking about a group of just male friends, or it could be referring to a group of friends that includes both male and female. In number 4, we have the noun muchachas, which means young women, and it's being introduced by the definite article, las. Since muchachas is feminine and plural, the article needs to be feminine and plural as well, so that they will agree with one another. So number 4 will say the young women. In number 5, we have the noun niños, which is plural and masculine. And so the article here is also plural and masculine, and that's los. So number 5 will say the boys. And since the word niños is plural and masculine, it could also be referring to a group of children that includes both boys and girls. So number 5 could also say the children. In number 6, tú means your, and hermana means sister. Me means my, and hermano means brother. So number 6 will say your sister and my brother. In number 7, we have the feminine singular word amiga being introduced by an indefinite article. Notice that the indefinite article here, una, is also feminine and singular. So it agrees with amiga in number and in gender. So number 7 will say a friend. And since amiga is feminine, this is referring to a friend of the female gender. In number 8, we have the word hermanos, which is plural and masculine, and it's being introduced by the definite article los, which is also plural and masculine. So los and hermanos agree with one another in gender and in number. So number 8 will say the brothers, and since the word hermanos is masculine and plural, it could possibly also be referring to a group of brothers and sisters, and so we could translate that as siblings. So really number 8 could say the brothers, or it could also say the siblings. In number 9, the word amigo is masculine and singular, and it's being introduced by the masculine singular article un. That's an indefinite article, so we'll translate it as a or an. So number 9 will say a friend. And since the word amigo is masculine, it's referring to a friend of the male gender. In number 10, we have the word amiga, which is feminine and singular, and it's being introduced by the article la, which is also feminine and singular. La is a definite article, which means the, so number 10 will say the friend. And since the word amiga is feminine, that means it's referring to a friend of the female gender.